Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be discussing about the historical development of warehousing in the Philippines. Okay, so welcome to our first deep dive into warehouse operations and management. Okay, so over the next 3 hours, we're going to embark on a journey through the history from the Roman Empire all the way to the modern Manila. So by the end of this class, you should be able to connect ancient storage practices to your future role as a customs officer. Okay, so at the end of the lesson or the session, students will be able to analyze the historical development of warehousing from ancient global practices to modern Filipino systems. And also, you will be able to evaluate the critical role of warehouses as control points for customs trade and logistics throughout history, and also, you will be able to distinguish between various types of modern Philippine warehouses and their specific functions and legal implications under the CMTA. And lastly, you will be able to formulate informed opinions on how historical challenges in warehousing have shaped modern customs administration. So, this is not just about memorizing dates, it's about understanding how the very act of storing goods has always been tied to the rules of trade, and which is the heart of our future profession as a customs brokers. Okay, so what was the world's first warehouse? Cave storage, natural storage in caves. No, so an early human might have used a natural cave as a place to store food and also their tools or woven goods because the caves offer ample capacity, cooler, or ventilated spaces depending on the location of that cave. And also, it gives protection from rain and the elements. Okay, next, the tribal shelter, which is the centralized communal storage, no? As a populations grew, the communities might have established more organized storage spaces for their foods and also seeds, tools, hides, and other goods, no? An early, simplified precursor to a warehouse before modern structures. Okay, so as to the Roman buildings or Roman structure, the Roman Empire developed large facilities for various needs, including the storage of grain and also the wines, oil, and other commodities for fleets, cities, or camps. No? So the idea of a systematic storage system could first appear in large Roman towns or provinces. So let's begin with the very origin of our field, the first public warehouses, the Roman Horea. Okay, so a Horeum was a type of public warehouse used during the ancient Roman period. Although the Latin term is often used to refer to granaries. Okay, so it is not just simple barns, they were engineering marvels and logistical hubs built in the second century BC to serve a massive empire. So they featured raised floors to prevent spoilage from dampness, no? So meron silang mga nakataas na floors para mag-prevent yung spoilage from the dampness. And meron din silang thick walls to protect against fire. Okay, so these buildings were strategically located near major ports. So nagpapakita yon ng early understanding of the connection between the storage and supply chain efficiency. Okay? And when you think about it, the Roman Horea, now the Roman Horea was the first government controlled storage facility, and its purpose was to manage the flow of goods for both public and private consumption. This is a clear parallel to our work today. Okay, so a Roman Horea were used to store many other types of consumables. The giant Horea Galbae in Rome were used not only to store grain but also olive oil, wines, other foodstuffs, clothing, and even marble. Okay, and as to the impact no ng industrial revolutions into warehousing noong 18th to 19th century, no, nagkaroon ng malaking changes when it comes to warehousing because of the industrial revolution. So hindi na ito simple storage lang ng mga products, no? So nag-evolve na ating warehousing into something much more dynamic. Okay? The second one, so with mass production from factories, warehouses evolved from passive storage to active hubs for product movement. So because of mass productions of the factories, no, dumami na ng sobra yung mga goods na kailangang i-store and i-distribute, no? Therefore, yung mga warehouses na dati ay passive storage lang, naging active hubs na, no, for the movement of the products. So, ibig sabihin nun, hindi lang sila taguan ng mga goods, no? Sila na rin yung namamahala, no, ng flow ng goods from the production hanggang sa consumer. Next, in the United States, the rise of the railway system introduced rail warehouses, facilities placed near train lines to receive goods directly and resulted in lower transportation costs and faster delivery times. So in United States, this is one of the big changes, no? Happened na ma-develop ang kanilang railway system. So because of this, nagkaroon ng bagong klase ng warehouse, which is the rail warehouses. So ito yung isang facility na strategically located near the train lines. Okay? The goal of this is to receive goods directly from the train. Okay? So, hindi na kailangan ng dagdag pa na transportation or dagdag pa na transfers. No? And because of this, bumaba yung transportation cost and bumilis na yung delivery time. So, mas mabilis, mas mura, mas efficient. Okay? So, the era emphasized efficiency and speed in logistics, laid the foundation for the modern supply chain. So, yung buong panahon na yon nakafocus sa efficiency and speed. So, hindi na pwedeng mabagal yung galawan. Kailangan mabilis na yung turnaround ng goods para makasabay sa demand market. Okay, so next, the push for faster movement created demand for structured and organized storage system. So, just because of the needs ng mas mabilis na galaw ng product, lumitaw yung pangangailangan para dun sa structured and organized storage system. So, hindi na pwedeng bara-bara lang yung pag-store ng mga items. So, kailangan meron ng system, meron ng layout, and also tracking. So, dito nag-start na pumasok yung inventory management and warehouse optimization. Okay, next, automation revolution in warehousing. So here we are in the middle of one big changes, no, when it comes to logistics industries. And this is the automation revolutions. So before, kung dati ay industrial revolution ang nagbago sa physical movement ng goods, ngayon, ang digital and robotic systems naman ang nagre-redefine ng warehousing operations. So first, the rapid growth of e-commerce has reshaped warehouses into technology-driven facilities. So because of the the abrupt boom ng ating e-commerce, sobrang tumaas yung demand, no, para sa mabilis, accurate, and scalable na logistics solutions. So, hindi na sapat yung traditional na paraan ng pag-store and pag-process ng goods. So, kailangan na natin ng mas high-tech na warehouse systems para makasabay tayo sa bilis ng online transactions. So, sa mga modern warehouses today, no, nowadays, makikita mo na yung robots na nag-handle ng goods, no? Mula sa pag-pick into packing and until na pag-load neto, no? Inside the truck. And also, nakikita mo na yung automated storage and retrieval system. So, yung ASRS na kaya na niya mag-store and mag-retrieve ng items nang walang human touch gamit lang yung program commands. Okay, next. Human involvement is minimal, with workers primarily managing complex software system, real-time data analytics, system monitoring, and troubleshooting. So, because of this, minimal na lang yung human intervention. So, hindi ibig sabihin wala ng tao. Pero ang role na ng mga human, ang role na ng mga ng workers, no, ay nag-shift na into what? Into software management. So, sila na yung nagmo-monitor ng systems. Sila na rin yung nag-aayos ng errors and nag-optimize ng performance. Okay? Sila na rin yung sa data analysis, no? Para matrack yung inventory, forecast demand, and yung mga kailangan mag-decision based ng real-time insights. And also sa strategic oversight, no? Sila na rin yung namamahala doon. Hindi na manual labor, kundi high-level thinking and coordination. Next, this transformation introduces new challenges and opportunities for customs administrations. So, for the customs administration students, itong shift ay merong malaking effect, no? So, kailangan ng makipag-interface sa digital systems. So, hindi lang papel-papel lang, kundi integrated platforms which has automated documentations, real-time tracking, and also electronic declarations. So, may mga new challenges like ensuring na transparent yung automated process. Like, paano na-audit yung robot handled goods, no? So that's one of the challenges. And also, maintaining compliance kahit mabilis yung galaw ng inventory. Adapting to new technologies na hindi pa fully regulated. Okay? Pero meron din mga opportunities. So, pwede nang mag-develop ng smart customs protocol na mas efficient and less prone to human error. And also, mas easier na yung data sharing between warehouse systems and customs platforms. No? Mayroon na rin potential for real-time compliance monitoring na dati ay manual and delayed. Okay, so we go on to the pre-colonial Philippines. Ito yung sinaunang logistics hub in Asia. So first, bago pa dumating yung mga Kastila, the Philippines ay hindi isolated or primitive gaya ng madalas na i-portray sa textbook. No, in fact, our islands were already part of a dynamic regional trade network. Parang early version siya ng ASEAN trade, pero mas organic and community-driven. Second, just because of the strategic location of the Philippines sa gitna ng maritime routes ng Southeast Asia, naging natural na yung trading, naging natural na naging trading crossroads tayo, no? Yung mga ngalakal or mga traders mula sa China, nagdadala sila ng porcelain, jade, and silk. For the Japan traders naman, may mga kasamang iron tools and fine ceramics. For the India naman, yung mga India traders, Nagdadala naman sila ng beads, spices, and textiles, no? And for the Middle East, no? Meron yan mga kasamang glassware, perfumes, and metal, no? Yung mga metal goods, no? And regular yon na dumadaan at nakikipagkalakalan sa mga baybayin ng Pilipinas. Okay? Next, the third one, and meron tayong, we have a system, no? We have a system before na tinatawag ay barter, no? So, walang pera, pero may value exchange. So, yung mga lokal na product, like gold, perlas, beeswax, kabibe, and yung mga halamang gamot na pinapalit doon sa mga imported goods. So, yung mga coastal communities ay para siyang mini ports. Okay? So, kung saan nagkakaroon doon ng exchange of goods and also yung culture and technology. Next, hindi pa formal, no, yung warehousing before, no? Pero meron ng functional storage practices na rin, no? Yung mga goods ay ini-store sa mga bahay ng datu o raha na siyang merong authority and resources para mag-regulate ng trade. No? Sometimes, ginagamit din yung mga silong, yung mga kubo, or boat bilang temporary storage. So, depende yun sa uri ng product and kung yung panahon ng pagtitrade nila. Okay? Next. So, yung mga datu and raha ay hindi lang political leaders. No? Sila rin yung unang logistics coordinators. So, nagsiset ng rules sa fair trade. Sila rin yung nagme-maintain ng peace and order sa mga market or daungan, no? Sa mga pier. Nag-aayos ng alliances para sa tuloy-tuloy na kalakalan. Okay, next. Yung mga river and yung mga baybayin, sila yung nagsisilbing natural supply chain routes natin. Okay? Yung mga ilog tulad ng Pasig River, Agusan, and Pampanga River, sila yung ginagamit para sa island distribution. Okay? Yung mga bangka gaya ng Balangay ay parang delivery trucks. So sila yung nag-carry ng goods from island to island. Okay? Since wala pang mga trucks before. So, ang ginagamit is yung mga boat. Okay? So, next. Lastly, so this era marked the beginnings of Filipino logistics rooted in community, geography, and trade diplomacy. So in short term, no, kahit wala pang formal custom system before, meron ng early logistics culture. Meron ng coordination, regulation, there is a storage and movement of goods. There is a role ng community sa pagmamanage ng supply chain. Okay? So ito yung tinatawag na unang tikim, no, ng logistics sa atin dito sa Philippines, na rooted in geography, community leadership, and cultural diplomacy. Okay, so let's go on to the Spanish colonial era. So this is what we call the Manila Acapulco galleon trade. So first, nung dumating yung mga Kastila sa Philippines noong 16th century, nagbago yung flow ng kalakalan natin, no? So, hindi na basta-basta lang palitan ng product. Nagkaroon na ng formal and state-controlled trade system na tinatawag na Manila Acapulco Galleon Trade. Second, ito yung isa sa pinakamalaking operasyon na controlled by the government ng Espanya, no? So kung saan yung mga galleon or yung mga malalaking vessel ay bumabiyahe from Manila going to Acapulco, Mexico, and vice versa. So, this is once in a year yung kaniyang biyahe, pero grabe yung dami ng product and kayamanan na dala nila. Okay? So, yung mga product from Asia, tulad ng mga seda, porcelain, spices, and others, dinadala yon sa Mexico, and mula roon sa Mexico, ipinapasa siya sa Spain. Okay, so on the other hand, yung mga product from the America and Europe, gaya ng mga pilak, alak, and yung mga kasangkapan na iba pa ay dinadala pabalik dito sa Philippines. Okay? Third, yung mga papel ng almacenes or mga warehouses, dahil sa sobrang volume ng products, no, nagtayo yung mga Kastila ng mga almacenes or yung warehouses, no? Pero hindi lang ito yung simpleng storage area. Ito yung center ng control and inspection, no, ang ng kalakalan noon. Okay? Next, sa loob ng mga almacenes, no, ginagawa yung inventory ng products. So doon inaayos, binibilang, and uh, ino-audit. Okay? Next, fifth, may mga customs officials na tinatawag na guardas na nag inspect ng mga cargo. So, tinitiyak nila na ang laman ng mga kahon ay tugma sa document. So, walang labis, walang kulang, and walang smuggled goods. Okay? So, para sa mga Kastila, mahalaga yun because gusto nilang siguraduhin na makukuha ng crown or yung hari ng Espanya yung tamang duties and taxes and also yung kita nila. Okay? So ayaw nilang maloko or mawalan ng kita dahil dun sa smuggling or undeclared na goods. Okay? Kaya maaga pa lang meron ng rudimentary custom systems, no? Parang early version siya ng Bureau of Customs natin ngayon. Okay? And as to documentations and security, bago pa makasakay yung product doon sa galleon trade, no, sa galleon na yon, sa vessel na yon, kailangan ng complete documents such as yung manifest or kung tinatawag before is manifiesto, lista de carga, yun yung mga packing list and so on, no? And then kailangan ng approval from the guardas and also the physical inspections to ensure, no, na walang tinatago or illegal na items. Six, ang system, no, ng inspections and documentations na ito yung naging pundasyon, no? That's the foundation of the customs and border control into the Philippines. So hindi pa siya kasing complicated na ngayon, pero nandun na yung concept, no? Nandun na yung concept ng transparency, accountability, revenue protection, global impact, and legacy. Okay? So, yung galleon trade ay tumagal ng mahigit 250 years. Mula 1565 hanggang 1815. So, isa to sa pinakamatagal at pinakamaimpluwensyang trade routes ng kasaysayan. Okay? So, bukod sa kalakalan, nagdala rin yan ng cultural exchange. No? So, naghalo na yung kultura ng Pilipino, Kastila, and Meksikano. Okay? And also, dito na rin pumasok yung mga pag-usbong ng urban centers gaya ng Intramuros bilang siya yung center ng administrasyon and kalakalan. And yung pagkakaroon ng custom systems na eventually ay naging bahagi na ng modernong pamahalaan natin ngayon. Okay? So, sa pag-evolve ng warehousing sa sa panahon ngayon, no? Hindi na simple storage lang ang warehouse. So ito yung naging specialized, legally regulated, at highly strategic na bahagi na siya ng supply chain. So sa Philippines, may malinaw na legal categories ang mga warehouses. So meron siyang kanya-kanyang gamit, and also requirements and regulatory oversights. Okay, so as to the types of warehouses in the Philippines, we have public warehouses, private and cold storage. As to the public warehouses, so pwedeng gamitin nyo ng kahit sinong importer. This is open to the public. Okay, so pwedeng gamitin nyo kahit sinong importer or negosyante. This is ideal para sa mga short-term storage na kinakailangan o sa mga walang sariling warehouse, no? So pwede silang mag-rent dito sa public warehouses. No, meron niyang rental fees pero flexible and accessible. And let's go on to the private warehouses. So this is owned by a company and ginagamit siya exclusively, no? Exclusively lang for their own inventory. So this is more controlled yung operations, but we need we need also the registration and compliance from the Bureau of Customs kung merong customs related activities na nangyayari doon sa loob ng private warehouses. And cold storage warehouses, this is a specialized facility na merong temperature control para doon sa mga perishable goods like food, medicine, and biological products. Okay? So, kailangan dito ng strict health and safety standards, lalo na kung merong customs clearance involved. Okay? So, this is critical when it comes doon sa food security and pharmaceutical logistics. Okay, so let's move on to the customs banded warehouses. So dito nagiging exciting yung topic kasi ito yung core ng customs operations. So the CBW ay isang facility na authorized ng Bureau of Customs para mag-store ng imported goods without paying duties and taxes agad-agad. Okay, so paano gumagana ang CBW? Yung importer ay pwedeng magpasok ng goods sa CBW at hindi muna magbayad ng taxes. Okay? So, magbabayad lang sila kapag i-withdraw na nila yung goods for local consumption or i-export yon sa other countries. No? And yung CMTA, no, siya yung law na nagre-regulate sa lahat ng CBW operations. Dito nakasaad yung mga rules sa like inventory management, the documentations needed, the security protocols, and also the penalties for the violations. Okay, so what is the role of the customs officers when it comes to the CBW? So tayo yung frontliners ng compliance, no? Sa mga bonded facilities. So, kailangan natin i-monitor yung movement of goods. We need to verify the inventory records and also we need to ensure na walang smuggling and undeclared goods or fraud na nangyayari doon sa bonded facilities. Okay? So, mag-coordinate tayo sa warehouse operators para sa audit and inspection schedules. And aside from the CBW, meron ding PEZA warehouses which is located inside the Philippine Economic Zones. So, yung mga facility na yon ay para sa mga export-oriented industries such as manufacturing, BPO, electronics, garments, etc. So, why is this important? Why is PEZA warehouses important? So, meron silang special tax incentives and customs privilege yung mga company sa PEZA, no? So, kailangan niya ng close coordinations sa PEZA administrators, sa BOC personnel, and also sa zone locators. Okay? And what is the customs role, no, when it comes to PEZA warehousing? So tayo yung nagbabantay ng compliance and movement ng goods inside those economic zones. So we need to track yung mga import and export activities. We need to ensure na yung mga goods ay ginagamit based doon sa PEZA guidelines, and also mag-report tayo ng mga discrepancies and mag-recommend ng corrective actions. Okay? So, bakit mahalaga yung warehousing sa customs? Okay? So, yung warehouse, as what I've said earlier, it is not just a storage facility, no? Ito rin yung isa sa regulatory checkpoint, those economic enabler, and compliance zones. So, bilang customs professionals, ang ating role o ang ating trabaho is to secure the revenue of the government, to prevent the illegal trade, and also to facilitate yung legal and efficient movement of goods. And lastly, to promote yung trust sa buong supply chain. Okay, so any questions? So that will end my presentation for today.